Mark. Thanks for coming over. You look a little bit tired today. Did you get enough sleep last night, or did the caffeine from our late afternoon coffee keep you awake?
To be honest, Anna, it wasn't the caffeine. I stayed up way too late scrolling through social media. You know how it is. You tell yourself you'll just check one notification, and suddenly it's 2 in the morning and you're watching videos of people building swimming pools in the jungle or reading long threads about ancient history.
Oh, I know that rabbit hole all too well. It's incredibly addictive because the content is literally designed to keep you engaged. I actually had a similar realization this morning. The very first thing I did when I woke up, before even stretching, opening the curtains, or saying hello to my cat, was reach for my phone to check my emails and the news. It's like I need a digital fix before I can even face the real world.
It's a reflex, isn't it? It's like our phones have become a literal extension of our arms. I feel completely naked without it. If I leave the house and realize I've forgotten my phone, I feel a genuine sense of panic, even if I'm only going to be gone for 20 minutes. It's almost a physical sensation of loss.
That's actually a recognized phenomenon now. It's called nomophobia, the fear of being without your mobile phone. It sounds funny, and we joke about it, but when you think about how much we rely on these devices for navigation, banking, and communication, it's actually quite concerning. We've outsourced our memory and our sense of direction to a piece of glass and silicon.
Exactly. I was trying to remember a friend's phone number yesterday, and I realized I don't know a single person's number by heart anymore, not even my parents'. If my battery died in an emergency, I'd be totally stranded. It makes me feel incredibly vulnerable.
It also changes the way we start our day mentally. Instead of waking up and setting our own intentions, we immediately let the outside world, news, social media drama, and work requests dictate our mood. We're in reactive mode from the second we open our eyes.
That's a great point. This morning, the first thing I saw was a stressful news headline and a work email about a deadline. My stress levels spiked before I'd even gotten out of bed. It's a terrible way to begin the day, but the temptation to just check is so overwhelming.
I've started leaving my phone in the living room overnight to stop that habit, but I often find myself walking across the house in my pajamas just to find it. It really highlights how deeply ingrained the behavior is.
I think I've reached a point where my phone usage is seriously interfering with my productivity and my mental health. I feel constantly plugged in, but somehow less connected to reality. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it today. I need to find a way to break this cycle and reclaim my morning and my life.
It's interesting you mentioned that urge to check your phone even when you have no reason to. Scientists say that every time we get a like, a comment, or even a simple text message, our brain releases a tiny squirt of dopamine. It's the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure, reward, and motivation.
So we're essentially digital junkies. We're constantly seeking that next hit of validation from the screen just to feel a baseline level of excitement.
In a way, yes. These apps are meticulously designed to be sticky. Developers use what's called persuasive architecture to keep us engaged for as long as possible. Think about the infinite scroll feature on most platforms. In the past, you'd reach the bottom of a page and have to click Next, which gave your brain a microsecond to decide if you wanted to continue. Now, there is no natural endpoint, so your brain never gets the signal to stop.
That explains so much. I often find myself mindlessly scrolling without even processing what I'm looking at. I'll spend 20 minutes looking at memes, and if you ask me what I saw 5 minutes later, I couldn't tell you a single thing. It's like I'm in a cognitive trance.
It's actually a design choice called variable rewards. It's the same logic used in slot machines in Las Vegas. You pull the lever, or in our case, pull down to refresh the feed, and you don't know if you're going to get something boring or something amazing. That uncertainty makes the action incredibly addictive. You keep pulling the lever because the next post might be the one that gives you that big dopamine spike.
That is a chilling comparison. I never thought of my phone as a portable gambling device, but it really is. And the notifications are the worst part. That little red bubble with a number in it or that specific ping sound is a psychological trigger. It demands our immediate attention, pulling our focus away from whatever we were doing in the physical world.
Exactly. It creates what researchers call task switching costs. Every time you get distracted by a notification, it takes your brain several minutes to get back into a state of deep work or flow. If you check your phone every 10 minutes, you're never actually operating at 100% of your mental capacity.
I've noticed that my attention span has decayed significantly. I struggle to read a long-form article or a book for more than 10 minutes without feeling that phantom vibration in my pocket. You know, when you think your phone vibrated, but it actually didn't? It's frustrating because I used to pride myself on my ability to concentrate. Now I feel like my brain is being rewired to only handle information in 15-second bursts.
You're not imagining it. Neuroplasticity means our brains literally adapt to the environment we provide. If we feed our brains constant, rapid-fire stimulation, they become less efficient at sustained focus. We're training ourselves to be distracted.
It's a bit frightening when you lay it out like that. We're paying for these free apps with our most valuable resource, our attention. I really need to figure out how to starve that dopamine monster.
I've noticed that decay in focus most acutely when we are out with friends. Have you ever been at dinner and realized that everyone at the table is looking at their phone instead of talking to each other? There's this heavy, awkward silence, yet everyone is busy in their own digital worlds.
Guilty as charged. It's actually reached a point where it feels socially acceptable, even though it's quite rude. It's called phubbing, a portmanteau of phone and snubbing. It's a bizarre behavior when you think about it objectively. We prioritize a person who isn't even in the room over the human being sitting right across from us.
It creates a massive barrier to deep, meaningful conversation. When you're talking to someone and they keep glancing at their screen, it sends a subconscious signal that says, what you're saying is less interesting than whatever just popped up on my Instagram. We're physically present, but mentally elsewhere. I think it's making our real-life relationships much more superficial because we never get past the surface level without being interrupted.
I agree. Even when I'm with my family, I find myself reflexively checking sports scores or work emails under the table. It makes me feel guilty, especially when my parents are trying to tell me something important, but the habit is so deeply ingrained that it's almost an involuntary muscle spasm at this point. I feel like I'm losing the ability to be truly present in the moment.
We've also lost the art of being bored together. In the past, if you were waiting for a bus with a friend or standing in a long line, you would just think, people watch, or strike up a spontaneous conversation. Now, any moment of stillness is immediately filled with a screen. We use our phones as a shield against any potential social awkwardness or just the simple discomfort of being alone with our thoughts.
You're right. We're losing our capacity for reflection and daydreaming. If we're constantly consuming content, we aren't creating our own thoughts. I've noticed that some of my best ideas used to come to me when I was just staring out a window. Now, I'm staring at a feed, and my brain is too full of other people's ideas to generate any of my own.
It also affects our empathy. When we communicate primarily through text or comments, we lose the nuances of body language, tone of voice, and eye contact. It's much easier to be dismissive or mean to someone online because you don't have to see the immediate emotional impact on their face.
That's a sobering thought. We're trading quality for quantity. I might have 500 friends online who like my photos, but if I'm sitting at a dinner table phubbing my actual best friend, who am I really connecting with?
Exactly. We're connected to the whole world, yet we've never been more isolated. We need to start practicing radical presence, putting the phone away, making eye contact, and actually listening to the person in front of us without waiting for the next notification to rescue us from the conversation.
Another huge factor for me is work. Because I have my work email and Slack on my phone, I feel like I'm never truly off the clock. I'll be in the middle of watching a movie on Saturday night, or even just having a quiet dinner, and my work notification will pop up. Even if I don't reply, the mere sight of it instantly triggers my work brain and stresses me out.
That always-on culture is a major contributor to modern burnout. There's this unspoken, pervasive expectation that because we can be reached at all times, we should be reachable at all times. It completely blurs the lines between our professional responsibilities and our personal lives. We've lost that physical and mental commute where we leave work at the office.
Exactly. It feels like I'm carrying my office in my pocket 24/7. I feel a sense of digital guilt if I don't respond immediately.
I worry that I'll be perceived as lazy, uncommitted, or that I'm holding up a project. But in reality, 90% of those messages could easily wait until 9 a.m. on Monday morning without the world ending.
We've essentially trained our colleagues and bosses to expect instant gratification. If you respond to an email at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, you're setting a precedent that you are available then. We need to set much firmer boundaries. It's not just about being polite to ourselves, it's necessary for our long-term focus and creativity. If our brains are constantly in a state of high alert reacting to external stimuli, we never enter the rest and digest mode that allows for deep thinking.
I've heard of people going as far as having a dedicated work phone and a personal phone, just to create that physical separation. When the workday is over, the work phone goes in a drawer. It seems extreme, but I can see how that would provide a massive psychological relief.
It's a great strategy if you can afford it. But even without two devices, we can create digital fences. For instance, I've started using the focus mode on my phone to automatically hide work apps after 6 p.m. It requires a bit of initial discipline to not manually bypass it, but the peace of mind is worth the effort.
I also struggle with the just one more thing syndrome. I'll check my email right before bed just to clear the deck for tomorrow, but then I see a complex problem and I spend the next hour lying awake in the dark mentally solving it.
That's the trap. By trying to save time tomorrow, you're ruining your recovery tonight. We have to realize that our productivity is actually higher when we are well rested and have had time to disconnect. The most productive thing you can do on a Sunday is often absolutely nothing related to work.
You're right. I need to stop treating my availability as a measure of my value. I'm going to try removing the work syncing from my phone this weekend and see if the sky actually falls. I suspect it won't.
I can practically guarantee it won't. And you'll probably find that when you do sit down to work on Monday, you're much more sharp and efficient because you've actually had a mental break. We also have to talk about the psychological impact of social media and the comparison trap. We are constantly bombarded with images of people living their best lives, breathtaking vacations, perfect outfits, spotless homes, and incredibly successful careers.
And we inevitably compare our behind the scenes with their highlight reel. It's a recipe for inadequacy and low self-esteem. I could be having a perfectly fine day, but then I see a former classmate posting about their new promotion or their luxury trip to the Maldives, and suddenly my life feels small and uninteresting.
Precisely. We forget that those photos are often staged, filtered, and carefully curated. Nobody posts pictures of themselves doing laundry, paying bills, or feeling sad and lonely on a Tuesday afternoon. We are comparing our raw, unfiltered reality to someone else's polished, edited fiction.
It creates a distorted reality that our brains aren't naturally equipped to handle. In the past, you only compared yourself to your neighbors or your local community. Now we're comparing ourselves to the top 1% of the entire world. I catch myself feeling jealous of people I don't even know and whose lives I don't actually want. I'm just reacting to the perfection shown on the screen. It's such a drain on my emotional energy.
It's that FOMO, the fear of missing out, working overtime. We see others having fun and feel like our own lives are boring in comparison. But the truth is, while we are busy looking at their lives, we are missing out on our own. We're so preoccupied with documenting the moment to prove we were there that we forget to actually be there.
I've noticed people at concerts who spend the entire time recording the show through their phone screens. They aren't watching the artist, they're watching a tiny digital version of the artist while the real thing is right in front of them. It's like we've become obsessed with the proof of the experience rather than the experience itself.
Exactly. And the pressure to maintain that image is exhausting. There's a psychological phenomenon where people feel anxious if their post doesn't get enough engagement. We've tied our self-worth to a number of likes or shares. If the audience doesn't applaud, we feel like we failed.
That's a powerful way to put it. We're becoming spectators of other people's lives instead of being the protagonists of our own. I want to get back to a place where I do things because I enjoy them, not because they'll look good on a grid.
That's the goal. We need to remind ourselves that social media is a tool for connection, not a yardstick for our value as human beings. Next time you feel that pang of envy while scrolling, just remember you're looking at a movie poster, not the whole film.
I love that analogy. It really puts things into perspective. I think I need to start following accounts that actually inspire me or teach me something, rather than ones that just make me feel like I'm not doing enough.
Aside from the mental and emotional toll, we really need to address the physical health consequences. Our bodies simply aren't designed for this level of sedentary, screen-focused behavior. Have you heard of tech neck?
Is that persistent pain in the neck and shoulders from leaning over a screen for hours? Because if so, I definitely have it. Sometimes I get these tension headaches that start at the base of my skull and wrap around to my forehead.
That's exactly it. When you tilt your head forward to look at your phone, you're effectively increasing the weight your neck has to support. At a 60-degree angle, your head, which normally weighs about 5 kilograms, exerts nearly 27 kilograms of pressure on your spine. Over time, that leads to chronic pain, disc issues, and even permanent changes in your posture.
That is a terrifying statistic. 27 kilograms? No wonder my upper back feels like it's made of concrete by 5 p.m. And I've noticed my hands aren't doing great either. My thumb sometimes feels cramped or stiff after a long session of texting or scrolling.
That's often called smartphone thumb or texting thumb. It's a repetitive strain injury. We're performing the same micro movements thousands of times a day, which causes inflammation in the tendons. And then there's the issue of sleep, which we touched on earlier. The blue light emitted by our screens is a major disruptor.
Right, it interferes with melatonin production. But it's more than just falling asleep, isn't it? Even when I do sleep after a long night on my phone, I wake up feeling unrefreshed, like I didn't actually get any deep sleep.
You're spot on. Blue light tells your brain it's high noon, so even if you manage to pass out, your sleep architecture is messed up. Your brain stays in a more alert state. Experts suggest a digital sunset, turning off all electronic devices at least an hour before bed. Instead of scrolling, try reading a physical book or listening to a podcast, ironically, like this one, to let your nervous system calm down.
I also noticed my eyes get really dry and strained lately. Sometimes things look a bit blurry if I look up suddenly after staring at my phone for an hour.
That's computer vision syndrome. When we stare at screens, our blink rate drops by about 60 to 70%. This causes the moisture on the surface of the eye to evaporate, leading to irritation and fatigue. There's a simple 20-20-20 rule to help. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. It gives your eye muscles a chance to relax.
It's a lot of strain on a very small part of our bodies. It's wild how we've prioritized digital engagement over our basic physical well-being. We really weren't evolved to stare at glowing rectangles and sit in a C shape for 10 hours a day.
We really weren't. We are biological creatures, not digital ones. If we don't start respecting our physical limits, we're going to see a whole generation of people with serious spinal and vision problems much earlier in life than we've ever seen before.
It's a wake-up call for sure. I think I need to invest in a standing desk, or at the very least, start holding my phone at eye level so I look less like a human question mark. Okay, Anna, you've totally convinced me. Between the tech neck and the dopamine loops, it's clear this habit is becoming toxic. But how do we actually change? I've tried to cut back before. I even deleted Instagram for a whole day once, but I always find myself reinstalling it or sliding back into my old ways the moment I feel a bit of stress.
Don't be too hard on yourself. You're fighting against thousands of engineers whose job is to keep you hooked. It has to be a gradual process, not an overnight revolution. You can't just throw your phone in the ocean and move to a cabin in the woods. Start with small, manageable friction points. For example, have phone-free zones in your house, like the dining table or the bedroom.
I like the idea of zones. No phones in the bedroom would definitely help my sleep, but I use my phone as my alarm clock. If I bring it in there, I'm tempted to check it.
That's a classic trap. The solution is simple. Buy a cheap, old-fashioned alarm clock. It removes the excuse to have the phone within arm's reach. What else can we do to create friction?
Well, I've heard of people having a digital detox weekend once a month. No social media, no work emails, just real-world activities like hiking, cooking a complex meal from scratch, or seeing friends in person.
That sounds terrifying and wonderful at the same time. It forces you to sit with yourself. Another strategy is app pruning. Go through your home screen and delete anything that doesn't add genuine value or utility. Do you really need 3 different news apps, 5 different mobile games, and 4 shopping apps? If it's not there, you can't mindlessly click it.
Definitely not. And I really need to tackle my notifications. I've realized that I allow almost every app to push alerts to me. You're right. I don't need a notification to know that a random brand is having a 10% sale or that someone I haven't talked to in 10 years just posted a story.
Exactly. Go into your settings and disable everything except for the essentials, calls and direct messages from actual people. Everything else should be pull only, meaning you only see it when you choose to open the app.
I've also seen a trick where people switch their phone screen to grayscale mode. Apparently, the brain finds the gray icons much less stimulating than the bright, vibrant colors designed by marketing experts. They say it makes the apps look boring and reduces that shiny toy appeal.
That's a fantastic tip. It strips away the visual candy aspect of the device. Another thing I do is the 24-hour rule for social media. If I feel the urge to post something, I wait 24 hours. Often, by the next day, the need for external validation has passed, and I realize I'm happier just keeping that memory for myself.
I love that. It's about slowing down the impulse. I think I'll also try batching my digital time. Instead of checking my phone 50 times a day for 1 minute, I'll check it 3 times a day for 15 minutes. It keeps the distraction contained.
It's all about reclaiming your agency. You're moving from being a passive consumer to an intentional user. It's going to feel itchy and uncomfortable at first, like you're missing out on something, but that feeling eventually fades and is replaced by a sense of calm.
I feel much more motivated now, Anna. Discussing the science behind the dopamine hits and the physical impact really puts things into perspective. It's not about hating technology, because let's be honest, our phones are incredibly useful tools for navigation, learning, and staying in touch. It's about making sure the tool serves us, rather than us serving the tool.
Exactly. It's about intentionality. Using your phone for a specific purpose, like looking up a recipe, checking a flight status, or navigating to a new place, is a productive use of technology. It's the mindless, aimless usage, that zombie scrolling we do when we're bored or tired, that we really need to curb. We need to transition from being users in the addictive sense to masters of our digital environment.
I'm going to start by setting a hard screen time limit on my most used apps. Most smartphones have those built-in features now where the app literally locks after, say, 30 minutes. It's a bit like having a digital parent or a strict coach, but I think I need that external boundary until my own self-discipline gets stronger.
Whatever works for you. There's no shame in using technology to fight technology. The ultimate goal is to reclaim our time, and more importantly, our attention. Our attention is our most precious resource. Imagine what we could achieve if we redirected even half the time we spend scrolling towards learning a new skill, practicing a language, or simply pursuing a hobby that brings us genuine joy.
You know, you're right. I could finally finish that guitar course I started 3 years ago. I always say I don't have time, but my screen time report tells a very different story. It says I have plenty of time. I'm just squandering it on 15-second clips of strangers.
We all fall into that trap. But think about the compounding effect. If you spend just 20 minutes a day on your guitar instead of your phone, that's over 120 hours a year. That's enough to go from a beginner to a decent intermediate player.
That's a powerful realization. It's about the opportunity cost. Every minute I spend looking at a screen is a minute I'm not looking at the world, or my friends, or my own potential. I want to look back a year from now and be proud of what I built, not what I liked.
I love that mindset. Let's make a pact. Let's check in with each other next week, maybe over a phone-free coffee, and see how our digital diet is going. We can share what worked, what was difficult, and how much extra time we discovered in our days.
It's a deal. I'm actually looking forward to it. It feels like I'm taking a deep breath for the first time in a while. I'm going to put my phone in my pocket now, not in my hand, and actually enjoy the sights and sounds of the walk home.
That sounds like a perfect plan. Enjoy the real world, Mark. It's much higher resolution than any screen. See you next week.